That's the goal that separates the sides at half-time, as if England struggled to get to the tempo they wanted to, that the pitch was a bit sticky. What happened earlier on?
They were sluggish, certainly for the first half an hour. Obviously, they gave up a chance after about 12 minutes, but they started to feel their way back into the game. They obviously always had that quality. You know, obviously Albania, as you'd expect, make it difficult for them, but they produced that one bit of quality, really, from Shaw's cross and Kane. Great finish, and it was nice and simple. And again, we talk about complicating the game. You know, put the ball in the box into the right areas. When you've got good players, there's a chance you're going to score goals. And
where you want to see Harry Kane, did we see a little bit of the sort of Tottenham Harry Kane? What I mean by that is dropping too deep, too much early on.
Yeah, and when you consider you've got Mason Mount, you've got Phil Foden, even Raheem Sterling there, you think to yourself, you don't need to come. Don't come simply because you want him up there. Because when you look at this situation. You look at this situation here, I'd still think, don't come. You've got Phil Foden right there as well. You don't need him. So once this starts building up, you think to yourself, OK, now you have to burst the gut now. You've got to get back in there because, like, we're breaking over on that right side. You've got to get in there. You look where he is. And now look. And, you know, when you've got someone like Harry Kane in the box, which we'll see in a sec, that's danger. So why he's coming this deep against Albania, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. And now you look at this situation now. He's in there. That's where you want him because his movement's going to be great. Those guys are afraid of what he's capable of doing. You look at him now. Once this, look where the defender is. He's going to look for him. He's just looked at him there, and it's too late now. Bam. Well, that's where you want him. You don't want him out there doing all that, coming back deep and doing all that. That's where we're going to get the best out of Harry Kane. You know, brilliant.
And again, a couple of minutes later, same position.
Yeah, because he's in the box. Bam. He's coming off the back, should score. That's what we're doing. We're overcomplicating this game. Too many passes, get the ball in the area, get it in the box, and let's finish the game.
You'd enjoyed Luke Shaw's cross from there, because he puts it in an area, doesn't he? He says to Kane, you go and attack it.
Yeah, Roy mentioned it, you know. Harry Kane can attack balls, you know, but again, what Wrighty says, he's got to be in that position. And Luke Shaw just put it in the area, and, you know, more crosses and more balls you get in there, you're always going to give your striker a chance and opportunity, and Harry Kane showed great movement in there, and there's a great header.
England did have a scare, as Roy said, after 12 minutes when Mason Mount, trying to retrieve possession, actually inadvertently sets Albania on the way to what could have been a very dangerous counter-attack.
Yeah, it's probably that little eagerness to, you know, get the ball going and try to keep the ball, and it leads to them on the attack, and ultimately probably the pass is probably behind him. He couldn't adjust his feet quick enough. And he's put it over, but it was definitely a scare for England. If that would have gone in,
it's a bit straight on for him.
You know what's happened there? I think the forward's got to play it to him earlier, so as he could get it out his feet, so as he can get in there. Like Ian Roy was saying, like, you know, he should still be able to get that on target. I think that it's too straight. His touch is not good enough. It's too straight, and he's anxious, and so he's panicked and he's just blasted it. And you know, instead of just maybe slotting it, I think his touch wasn't good enough in the first place. It's too straight.
But yeah, even with the bad touch, what you're always encouraging any players in that position, hit the target, at least test the keeper.
I know he's captain, but Harry Kane. But if you were in midfield, would you be saying to Harry Kane, get out of here, you're cluttering things up, get up the other end of the pitch where you do the damage. You don't need to be in it.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't be that polite to them. Yeah. You know, as I said, Righty makes the point there, when you're dominating possession, you don't need your strikers dropping back in. Stay up behind the pitch and we know where you can do the damage.
Only the winners qualify automatically, so Wednesday's game against Poland at Wembley, absolutely key, no question about that. Do you file that under efficient, professional job well done? Yeah,
exactly. Comfortable evening. I think once they got the second goal, the players no doubt switched off and they would have been focusing, you know, on the Poland game. Took their foot off the gas. They probably could have been a bit more ruthless, I suppose, in the two games they've had over the last few days. But job done, move on, no injuries, and a much tougher game coming up.
And once you get the second goal, you think about Poland, don't you? You think about staying out of trouble, both in terms of cards and injuries, and think about Wednesday night.
Yeah, hopefully they come away from this unscathed in terms of injuries. And, yeah, now they've got the second goal, focus on Poland, because it's going to be a different opposition, a more dangerous one. So, you know, I think there will be a few key things that Gareth will take from this game in terms of how he operates maybe the midfield. But, yeah, it's going to be different animal on Wednesday.
We're looking forward to Wednesday, aren't we? In the sense of what a challenge that will be for England. As I just mentioned, only the winners qualify automatically, so that makes Wednesday key match.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it, especially that watching Lewandowski live. I love watching him live, watch what he does. But, yeah, it's going to be a good game. You know, we had two games that we should win, and we have won pretty well, pretty comfortably. So you know, all you can do is beat what's in front of you, and we've done that, I thought, comfortably tonight, and obviously the other day as well.
Harry Kane back amongst the goals. Here's the England captain with Gabriel Clark.
Harry, well done on the win. How do you sum up the performance?
Yeah, I thought it was a really good performance, to be honest. Never easy coming away from home against a tough side. And yeah, maybe a little bit slow to start. We kind of changed our formation halfway through the first half, and I think that definitely helped. We got more runners in the box, more attacking play, and then obviously getting a goal before half-time was great. And then, yeah, I thought we controlled the second half well. They didn't create too many chances, so overall a good night.
You hadn't scored, as you'll know, for 6 England games. Is that something you'd been hard on yourself about or not?
No, I think I've always said as a striker, sometimes you go through spells where everything you touch goes in, and sometimes it just doesn't quite go your way. I think I had a few off the line in that spell, an offside goal that I don't think was offside. So, and that's part of being a striker. You know, you just got to stay focused on doing your job for the team, and thankfully we've done that as a team today. And like I said, it's great to get the 3 points.
Let's look at his goal first, then we'll talk about, which we did at half-time, about dropping deep in this game and the impact it has on him and the England team. But looking at his goal, his first in 7,
yeah.
So he would have been acutely aware of it. You goal scorers are with
yeah, but the thing is that, you know, when you haven't scored in 7, you think to yourself, I want to be in there, because this is the kind of game you're going to be playing in where probably going to get chances if the ball comes into the box, and you can see him here, where he is. That's where you want him. His movement's too good for the defender. You know, he's a top-quality forward, so the defender's waiting, he's on his heels. And he's got the kind of movement, the cute movement, that if the ball's good enough in there, he's probably going to make the kind of the movements that's going to get in front of the defender, and he did.
He can see the defender's number, can't he? And you always say, if he can see the defender's number, the defender can't see you.
What happens with that? You know, Luke Shaw's delivery is fantastic, you know, but what happens is that he's gone in, and the defender's probably, as the defenders look like that, and as he's done, he's gone. And that's why people say, well, how's he get in front of him? Because the defender's on his heels, looking, thinking, right, he's going to come towards me. Harry Kane's gone behind him and then, bam, in front of him. It's
what would you be saying to, if you were a defensive coach, what would you be saying about the manner in which Albania conceded that?
You've got to get over. You've got to maybe be a step to the right, you know, maybe on Harry Kane's left shoulder a little bit more. You know, Harry Kane is a very, very clever striker, so he's preparing that space. He's waiting because he wants to go in there. So I would probably take a step to the right and just, you know, cut that off, to be honest.
And you would say, because you played with David Beckham, was brilliant at this, don't obsess from those wide positions about trying to pick somebody out. You put it in the air and put the emphasis on the attacker to make the most of it.
100%. Shaw's not looking for anybody there. He's just putting it to the right area. And again, we see Kane, instinct, anticipation, and obviously then the clinical finish. So I love the simplicity of it. Brilliant. Ball into the box. A world-class striker. Finishing brilliantly.
Where do you stand on the Harry Kane dropping deep? He was saying there, been doing it for Tottenham for a couple of seasons now, and implied that he was doing it for England. It just hasn't been picked up quite as much.
You know, I don't mind in certain games when he drops in. Of course, he does it for Tottenham, and sometimes he's obviously got more pace around him when he's playing for Tottenham or with the England players. I think today's example, he probably doesn't need to do it because they're dominating possession. They're obviously going to be creating chances. That's where he needs to be. And I think Harry knows that. It's a habit he has, and he didn't really need to be doing it today. And we discussed it at half-time. If you were playing in midfield today and he was dropping in, what you'd say to him is, get out of here. Get up the pitch. We're dominating the game. We've got possession. We don't need it. But there will be certain games where he drops in and he picks people out, and he's brilliant at doing that as well. It's just picking the right time to do it.
Yeah, well, when we have a look at what he did in the first half in particular, it'll be interesting to see if actually he thinks it is appropriate to do something similar on Wednesday against Poland.
Well, you look at this, I think that Raheem Sterling's in a better position. He can stretch him. But then Luke Shaw, he's not even looking. He's not even looking. He's passed it to Harry Kane, and Harry Kane's coming into a situation now where you think, well, you've got Calvin Phillips can do that. You know, Declan Rice. You know, he's passed it now. And now, once this goes out to the other side, you know, he's now struggling to get into a situation where he can then go and attack the box. Now, if that's going to happen, and people see Harry Kane going short, then they should be going in there and make sure that they fill in for him so as they can attack the box. Because too many times today, there's opportunities where people weren't in there.
And because he's not quick, and because he's not quick enough to get in there anyway, it'd be different if
he's not electric.
And then could sprint in like a Rashford, but he's not that quick anyway.
What do you think will happen against Poland? Let's assume that the percentage of possession will be shared fairly equally, you would imagine, wouldn't it? Poland are comfortable on the ball. Would you want him dropping in that situation when Poland have more of the ball?
On the right time, you know, it's about the timing. It'll be part of the game where England will no doubt be under more pressure on Wednesday, where Kane will want to drop in and link up, and that's fine. It's just picking the right times to do it. But when you're dominating possession, you don't need any striker dropping in, as good as they are even in terms of passing.
And if he's going to go in, and everyone knows he's going to go in, because he said he's been doing it for England and people haven't picked up on it, but if that's the case, then Gareth and the guys should be saying, right, if he goes, then make sure, if it's Phil Foden, if it's Mason Mount, you go in there and make sure you occupy that space. Because like you saw him trying to get in the box, he didn't get there, and the ball's come in the box and there's no one in there.
And if you're a good defender, Poland, they've seen Harry Kane on the halfway line.
Yeah, are you happy?
They'll be delighted.
Yeah.
Delighted.
Absolutely.
Interesting that he talked on international duty about his club future, which doesn't happen very often with England. He's 28 in the summer, and of course he's linked with big clubs around Europe, and he's at a big club now at Tottenham. If he doesn't leave this summer, are you thinking, well, he'll be at Tottenham for the rest of his career, that this is actually the pivotal summer for Harry Kane's club future?
Yeah, every time I, hear him speak or, see him on the TV and he talks about or addresses the situation about the contract, he seems happy. But under the surface, I can tell he wants to win as well. Like, most players want to win. They want to compete for trophies. They want to, finish their career with as many top games, big accolades they can do. And will he do that at Tottenham? I don't think so. So it's going to be interesting for him, whether he stays or goes, but it's going to be a very, very big decision for him.
Because he's clearly got a massive emotional attachment to Tottenham for obvious reasons. This is a huge decision for him.
Yeah, it is, but he's also a professional. And again, if you're a top player, you want to win the big trophies. A big few months coming up for Tottenham. They've got the League Cup final. Can they get in the top four? Huge question marks. Would that influence him? He's obviously under contract. Tottenham will have a lot to say about it. But if you're in his shoes, it comes the summer, I think the guy has to move on to really win the big prize. He's not going to do it at Tottenham.
But you say that, but like in 2018, before the World Cup, he didn't even give himself time that he could maybe win a golden boot and then have even more leverage to negotiate a contract, whether you're going to sign or whether you're going to stay. Sign a 6-year deal. It's still 2024. For him to be talking about his contract now, if I'm Spurs, I'm a little bit upset simply because he was happy to sign it there, 2018, for 6 years. So now he's saying that. It's kind of like throwing things up in the air. And I feel that, it's a little bit for me. You know what I mean? I'm not keen.
But because you sign a contract doesn't mean to say you're going to stay there, right? That still gives the club then a bit of power to say, OK, you want to move, you've got 4 years left. At least then Tottenham can say, well, we get 150 million from him, and everyone wins. That can happen.
Yeah, but then the thing about it is that if Harry Kane is now, like, talking about that, like, wanting to make, what's going to happen with his future and that, then you don't sign for 6 years. You're going into a World Cup. You're going into a World Cup. If you can win the Golden Boot, which he did, you've got even more bargaining power. You can say, well, I don't really want to sign. I want to see how I go. But he signed for 6 years. It's till 2024. If I'm a Tottenham fan, I'll be quite disappointed to hear that. But totally understand what the guys are saying about wanting to win things. But then you think about that before you sign for 6 years.
But right, he wouldn't be the first player to sign a contract and then want to move a year or two later. That happens.
And that protects the club as much as well, because it protects his value, doesn't it? And he is the one big... I know Son's a very good player, but he's the one big saleable asset Tottenham have, and every club financially is struggling because of COVID. So if they want to reboot the team, that's the obvious place to get a lot of money.
Yeah, and of course, and there's parts of Kane's games I've looked at recently where I'm thinking, if he's the captain of the club, I've looked at him games in Europe where they got knocked out, and I say, we need a bit more from you. So sometimes Mourinho or Tottenham will have to say, OK, he keeps making these noises. If there's a big offer on the table, we'll take it and we move on and we'll reinvest it. That's the game. That's what the game's about.
I think we're never privy to the conversation that maybe Harry Kane had with Levy. He could have said before he signed a contract, look, I'm going to invest, I'm going to bring better players to this team. So Harry's thought, yeah, good opportunity for me to stay at the club that I love. I've been here for however many years, but now I'm going to build, I'm going to win something at Tottenham because you're going to add, and they don't. So...
Well, it's a story that's going to bubble on for as we know. You know football. It's going to bubble on for a bit. Let's talk about somebody who's very committed to their club, Mason Mount. And also, the way that I asked Ian at the beginning who his starters might be for a first Euros game, I think you'd have to say he's a starter, isn't he? Whatever formation England play, Mason Mount looks like a starter.
Yeah, I think Gareth really, we talk about that word, really trusts him, to implement the tactical game that he wants. I think, he presses well from midfield. He can press 1 or 2 or 3 players at times, which can get the line up. He's always forward-thinking. He always wants to break the lines with passes, you know, forward. He's got that energy to run in behind. He's literally, he can do, you know, he's an all-rounder. And again, you just wondered, does he score enough goals? And then today he proved, you know, the quality he has in front of goal with a great finish.